Hello again, everybody. Don't read the chapter description, it is full of spoilers. This chapter is just after the halfway point, and it's the major turning point of the whole campaign story. It does a good job at that, and has some great cinematics too. They worked hard on them, I'm sure. We're back near the fictional town of Sikyos, which, as I think I mentioned, is quite near the real location of Mount Olympus, so not too long a walk for Castor.
Be quiet back there.
I just noticed that that's a deliberate reuse of her line from Mission 13, Tug of War. Doesn't seem to make a lot of sense right now to me.
When I find him, I'm gonna pull his head off.
Ajax were using a funnier phrase.
I think he is being tricked. We must find him.
What was that?
Another cool moment there. Notice, by the way, in this upcoming cinematic that some Atlantean soldiers are apparently fighting the Titan to give the Greeks a chance to escape. Rather nice of them. I think they did some pretty cool stuff with the Titan's animations as he grabs and squashes these guys and so forth. And in the ending cinematic too, of course.
What happened?
I don't know what happened either.
What is that? That is a Titan. Only the lesser ones can escape Tartarus now. But soon, they'll free the others. No.
For some reason, that exact same bit of exposition gets repeated at the end of the chapter.
Keeping the Titans imprisoned. Fortunately, you went around destroying their temples and killing their
This seems like kind of a contradiction of the previous campaign, where it's not the power of the gods, but rather these gates that kept the Titans in. It's a common fantasy trope, of course, but it has no basis I'm aware of whatsoever in Greek, or Norse, or Egyptian mythology. Their gods didn't depend on humans. He raises kind of an unfortunate point there, which is that he didn't really seem to have much of a plan to free the Titans. Castor did all the thinking. I don't think I've said this recently, but I like the music they use in this game.
Those are Atlanteans attacking.
What side the Atlanteans are on gets a little bit confusing from here. Well, I'll get my economy rolling with a mining camp with this nice number of villagers they gave me. We're playing as Ra this time, my favorite Egyptian god, so I can empower with my priests, which is what I like about him.
Just sit back and let us build a base.
And Ajax is completely wrong. It will indeed sit back and let us build a base. We face essentially no opposition on this mission. Just some weak Promethean myth units that are no match for our heroes. So, I'll just endlessly mass priests because you need nothing else whatsoever. For that matter, you don't even really need to build the priests. The mission was really, I've got to say, not well thought out or well designed. And there are several ways to just do nothing and still win. For example, if you build a rock, you win, because they can't attack them. I think I'll switch who's empowering what. The Pharaoh's empowers a little bit better. I'll just put these guys in defensive stance so I don't need to think about them and do any micro. One of the many ways in which they made this already unlosable mission even easier was giving us the Son of Osiris, who can just instant kill masses of myth units. They also gave us a pile of excellent god powers. I'll build another temple so I can just mass produce priests faster. He's really not destroying the entire city, actually. For whatever reason, the AI will just leave almost all of it intact and just stand there staring into space. It's a shame, because this Titan is, of course, a potentially very cool fight in the making. Besides being huge and nearly invincible, he has this pretty unique special attack where he throws some bouncing Mario fireballs that then turn into Prometheans. Up here, Castor is getting attacked. Now you might think that means there's some kind of ticking clock element, but unfortunately you'd be wrong. Not only is he in no danger, he will actually go out and annihilate the group that's attacking him. Which is pretty crazy and vicious since they're apparently attacking him because of a misunderstanding. Well, I will build 3 rocks because I need those later on. Maybe I'll build an armory so I can upgrade my priests. Not that I need to. Now you might have noticed that I've almost finished this gold mine already. And you might be thinking, well, maybe there are limited resources, maybe that's the challenge. But no, there are 2 giant gold mines just east of your town center waiting to be mined. All the gold you could ever want, even if you do nothing but mass-produce gold-hungry units like priests. I think I want to get a town center to free up more population for even more priests, so I'll cancel them in the short term. I think I have just about enough villagers to just mass-produce priests forever, so I'll build a few more and then stop. Well, let me talk a little bit about some of the myths around Prometheus. So as far as I'm aware, The oldest myth about Prometheus is from Hesiod, who is a very, very ancient Greek poet, well before most of the historical Greek stuff. Prometheus, whose name means forethought, is the son of some unimportant couple of titans. Most of the titans have no real myths about them, and he has a dumb brother named Epimetheus, afterthought, who doesn't really matter much. I should probably explain, by the way, that there's absolutely no way to win this mission faster than the allotted time. Even if you actually kill the Titan Prometheus, which is not supposed to be possible, the timer just still keeps going. Killing him is really slow and cumbersome, and usually takes longer than the allotted time anyway. I'm not going to bother with it, but basically what you do is you get him stuck somewhere and then you take him out with catapults. Priest can't scratch him because he has 99% pierce armor, but he has quite terrible crush armor. Anyway, back to Prometheus myths, I guess. So, we don't really have any myths about what Prometheus did during the war between the gods and the Titans. Possibly nothing. So, like various other Titans who did nothing, he wasn't imprisoned in Tartarus. One story goes that he created the first humans out of clay. And then Athena gave them reason and things like that happened. This kind of contradicts the myth about Kronos having lived over the Golden Age and then followed by the Silver Age of men, followed by the Bronze Age and so forth. But a lot of these Greek myths were for different times and places, and it's not really expected they would make sense with each other. Anyway, Prometheus created the first humans out of clay, which is probably where him having this giant clay titan and having the clay myth units came from. In these early myths, Zeus was always terrible, just constantly. So he decided for no particular reason that he wanted to be a jerk to the early humans and demanded they make sacrifices and give him all the good parts of animals. Prometheus loved his creation, though. And he's something of a trickster archetype character. So he tricks Zeus. What he does is he sets up, he divides an ox into two. Half of it is just the bones and other uneatable stuff covered in good-looking, tasty-looking fat. And the rest is all the good stuff hidden away inside an ugly-looking ox stomach. And he asks Zeus which half he wants. In a lot of myths, Zeus is omniscient, but not in this one. He picks the wrong half. When he finds out he's been tricked, Zeus gets angry with humans for some reason, and punishes them by taking away fire. You know, I've got an idea. How about I try loading up my guys into rocks and seeing if I can attack the base that's attacking Castor. Maybe I can have some kind of challenge that way. We are, after all, supposed to be trying to rescue him here. Without my heroes to tank, the priest will probably take a few casualties because they're quite fragile, but that still doesn't really matter because I can endlessly replace them. Come to think of it, I don't know whether I ever talked about rucks before. So, rocks, or rucks, you'll see different spellings, come from Persian or Arabian mythology, actually. Nothing to do with Egypt whatsoever. Thousands of years after Egypt. And they're basically just giant birds. They show up in, I think, a couple of different voyages of Sinbad the Sailor. I quite enjoyed a book about that when I was a little kid. 5 or 6 checking out books in the library for the first time. As I got older and learned a little bit more, I began to wonder if maybe the stories might have been inspired by myths about Garuda from India. Rucks were said in some stories to pick up elephants and carry them off, and that was very reminiscent, I thought, of a myth about the giant bird Garuda that I thought I remembered at least. But I have no actual basis for that, I just thought the stories were similar, so don't take that as if it was actually reliable. Well, it seems they forgot to make this village hostile to us. Let me see if I can at least attack them and help Castor out a little bit. As you can see, of course, Castor's already overrunning these guys without our help, so there's really no risk at all. Left to his own devices, he'll finish them off and have about 10 minutes of staring into space, just like the Titan. Can we even attack? Wow, no, we can't even join in this fight. There really is nothing to do. Well, let's go over and say hi to Castor and just relax in his base for 8 minutes or so. Catch up. I have, again, no idea why Castor would be programmed to go out and slaughter these AI guys here. They're supposed to be victims of a misunderstanding, not actual enemies. Brutal. Getting back to the subject of rocks, the one last thing that I think is interesting about them is people of the time didn't seem to think that they were mythical. These two travelers, who you might have heard of, Marco Polo and Ibn Battuta, both known for their extremely long journeys into the East and other places, both wrote about rocks. They're also both known for being liars. Let me know, by the way, if you know what Ibn Battuta's real name is, come to think of it. Ibn just means son of. I've never heard what his given name was. I know only the barest smatterings of Arabic, so I haven't really read any of his stuff directly anyway. Just translations. Well, what else can I talk about to fill up the remaining time? Oh, right. I hadn't finished with Prometheus. So after Zeus stole fire from humans, Prometheus decided to steal it back. And there isn't much of a story to that as I recall, he just stole it and gave it back to them. This made Zeus even angrier. But he didn't break out the lightning bolts, for some reason. Instead, around this point, Hesiod says that he created Pandora, who was the first woman. Prometheus had created men, but not women, and I have no idea how there have been so many successive ages of just men, but whatever. So you probably all know about Pandora's box. She marries Prometheus' dumb brother Epimetheus, and they're tricked into opening this stupid box that contains all the evil things, and therefore the world is terrible from then on. They should have tried just putting Zeus in the box. What you might not know is that Hesiod, being very sexist, considered Pandora herself to be a terrible punishment against mankind, and went on this little rant about how women are awful. Man, those Prometheans really don't know what they're walking into. They just go around this corner and get butchered by the priests. Okay, right, Prometheus. So, to punish Prometheus, Zeus tied him to a giant rock in the Caucasus Mountains and had an eagle, which is a symbol of Zeus in a lot of myths, tear out his liver every day for some reason. Just the liver. And then it would regrow every night, and that repeated forever and ever, until actually Heracles wandered by one day and got him loose. And they all lived happily ever after. Zeus apparently had no problem with that. I guess by the time of that myth, Zeus had become a little bit less of a malevolent figure. Now I've heard some people criticize the mythology of this game by saying that Prometheus was never in Tartarus, he was tied to that mountain, and so on. But if you read his description, they did their homework about that. I would point out a couple things to those critics. Number one, that description clearly states that they know that he was not originally imprisoned in Tartarus. They say that after the whole incident with Poseidon at Atlantis, Zeus apparently thought he was to blame for that, and threw him into Tartarus after the last game. Oh, Stymphalian birds. Those are a cool myth unit. Flying ranged attackers. There were almost no useful flying units in the original release, and they kind of added more and more in each expansion and made them better and better. I love Stymphalian birds, but you can't use them in even a single campaign mission. How about that? They did at least avoid the problem that a lot of Blizzard games have, with flying units being wildly overpowered and completely breaking the balance in single player. They made flying units extremely slow, for one thing. Do either of my pharaohs have interesting names, come to think of it? No. You can get some joke names, or a few historical figures like Cleopatra will show up occasionally. Female pharaohs like Cleopatra show up with the exact same unit model as a male pharaoh would, of course. I guess that could make some sense at a stretch, because at least some female Egyptian pharaohs would do things like wear fake beards and so forth. I don't think Cleopatra did that. She, of course, was not actually a native Egyptian. She was a Macedonian Greek. The name is about as Greek as it gets, meaning glory of her father, as I recall. There were a ton of Cleopatras in their family, a lot of glorious fathers. But if you think they were uncreative with the women's names, you haven't seen anything yet. Every man in the family was named Ptolemy, and I don't just mean they were regnal names, where they had sons with other names who then took the name Ptolemy upon ascending the throne. No. Several of them had multiple sons all named Ptolemy. Now here comes Prometheus. Let me see what happens if I put up basically no resistance whatsoever. Will he win if I do that? Well, I mean, he can't win because my units are already on the other base, but will he at least destroy my base if I don't really put up a fight? Well, speaking of Prometheus, the other thing I would point out is that his Titan looks nothing like his aging up portrait, and also its description describes it as the Titan of Prometheus. Not the Titan Prometheus, the Titan of Prometheus. So that suggests to me that this is not meant to be Prometheus himself, this is just some kind of rampaging construct that he created. Oh, he's focusing on one of my units instead of the buildings. Let me move that guy over there and see if that changes anything. You would have to work to lose this mission, is what I'm seeing. I think I'm out of myths to talk about and story points too. What to do? Oh, here's something. Way back in high school, I decided to memorize Tennyson's poem, The Charge of the Light Brigade. Maybe I'll recite that, see how much I remember. This is in honor of all the Prometheans charging into their deaths, I mean. Not just out of nowhere. Half a league, half a league, half a league onward. All in the valley of death rode the 600. Forward the light brigade, charge for the guns, he said. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Forward the light brigade. Was there a man dismayed? Not that the soldiers knew someone had blundered. Theirs not to make reply, theirs not to reason why, theirs but to do and die. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Cannon to left of them, cannon to right of them, cannon in front of them volleyed and thundered. Stormed at with shot and shell, boldly they rode, and well. Into the jaws of death, into the mouth of hell rode the 600. Flashed all their sabers bare, flashed as they turned in air, sabering the gunners there, charging an army while all the world wondered. Plunged in the battery smoke, right through the lines they broke. Cossack and Russian reeled from the saber stroke, shattered and sundered. Then they rode back, but not the 600. Cannon to right of them, cannon to left of them, cannon behind them volleyed and thundered. Stormed out with shot and shell, wild horse and hero fell. They that had fought so well came back from the jaws of death, back through the mouth of hell. All that was left of them, left of 600. When can their glory fade? Oh, the wild charge they made, all the world wondered. Honor the charge they made, honor the light brigade, noble 600. Well, I think that was pretty close. I guess it's been 170 odd years, and a couple of normal ones, since the Crimean War, and their story hasn't quite faded yet. Was that poor guy distracted by this one priest again? Hopefully he'll turn back. What is he going after? I'm not over there. I'd expect this kind of thing from Prometheus. So yeah, I guess what we see here is that even if I mass up my guys for him to kill and take no action to save my town, it's still impossible to lose. The whole mission is like a cinematic, but unfortunately a repetitive one. You're lucky it's ending now. I was going to try singing next.
We have to get to Castor. We can use rocks to get him out of here.
We've done it already.
He can't hold out much longer.
Maybe we should have rescued the other Atlanteans from Castor. Well, another really good cinematic coming up here. Some idiot rock flying right over Prometheus for some reason instead of going absolutely anywhere else. Cool stuff though. Cut away while we hear the bone crunch. I guess they wanted to censor that out, not show him stomping on the bird. No rucks were harmed in the making of this cinematic.
What have I done?
It's a little late for that.
Most of the Atlantean army is now under Krios' control.
As I said, I don't really quite follow why the Atlanteans, go with Krios from now on. Some of them seem to be tricked, but some of them seem to be openly going along with him as he tries to deliberately free the Titans and talks about it out loud.
I was trying to do what was best for
This, of course, raises questions about why Arcantos didn't just show up at any time before to his son. What a lousy dad.
Fight them.
Not to mention, he could probably have helped out the Atlanteans while they were abandoned by all the other gods. But a common myth thing, I guess.
The Olympians to weaken them. If that is allowed, the greater ones can emerge.
We've already been told this, of course. Castor knows.
In Egypt. Now?
That is a complete non sequitur,
In the
Amonra.
Northlands, you will have allies in these places.
We go to Egypt first.
I guess the Norse don't get a vote. Well, that's that. I hope you all enjoyed it. The next mission is one I'm looking forward to, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. It is rightly regarded as one of the most challenging missions in the entire game. Should be fun. Until then, have a great day, everyone.